Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Buckeye Huddle postgame live show. I am Mark Givler, Ohio State 41, Purdue 7, in a game that may not have even been that close. Buckeyes put it together on both sides of the ball today for the most part. We're going to dive into this. Again, the house of horrors that has been West Lafayette over the years. Ohio State overcomes that. Strong showing from Kyle McCord, Dallan Hayden. We're going to get to all that here in a minute. As we talked about last week, we do have a new sponsor for the post-game show, so I do want to quickly get you guys up to speed on that. I think it's a sponsor that's going to be great for you guys as a resource. It's going to be a great partnership with us. But our new sponsor for the post-game show is WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a better by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. You can see your current action, your betting history and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers when they have them. So if you're on 3 or 4 different sports books, but there's another one out there offering a bonus, you can get it through there. If you're on 3 or 4 different sports books, it'll sync with all of them simultaneously so you can see and track your bets. And what I like about this one personally is that we're not in a partnership with someone who is incentivized by you guys losing money. They actually want you to win money because that helps them with their partnerships with the sports books and keeping you guys afloat. So this is not, like a pure gambling play where, the sports book wants you to lose. This app actually incentivizes wants you guys to win. So we like that in partnering with them. But they are really the best thing going on gambling Twitter right now as well. So you can follow them at WagerWire on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days. You can head to the App Store or the Google Play Store now. Search for WagerWire to download the app. But that's our new post game sponsor. We're thrilled with this partnership, and now that we've got that, if you want to be a sponsor to the show, if you want to add a segment to our show, feel free to reach out to us. You can follow me on Twitter. You can email me. It's mgivler@gmail.com. We'll get you hooked up with a segment if you have a business or something you're trying to promote. But let's dive into the post game now. Devin Radcliffe. Devin, what did you think here? I thought this was a pretty complete game given the conditions, the history in West Lafayette. Felt like a bit of a get-right game for them in a lot of ways.
I think you're starting to see a bit of direction the offense is going to go, despite the less than ideal conditions. I think you saw Day make an emphasis on here's a shocker, the pass game and his dynamic wide receivers. I think obviously, not having Henderson again, Williams being out, and then of course losing Trainum. You kind of had to go with what you got, but I think the overall, though, the game plan was, hey, let's start getting this pass game going because it's the best thing we got, and it's going to give us our best chance to win and win a bunch of ball games the rest of this year. But I agree with you. This looks like a brutally efficient game on both sides of the ball. And, of course, we'll get in more into it as the show goes on.
Yeah, here's our 3 and out. Let's start with Dallan Hayden. I thought Dallan had a tremendous game. I thought this was, for me, from start to finish, this was the best performance Ohio State's gotten out of a running back all year. I think we've seen flashes from other guys. We've seen big moments from Chip Trainum. We've seen a long run from Trevion Henderson. But from start to finish, Dallan was really seemed like he was in a rhythm. Seemed like he had not taken any time off. He's been kind of shelved since last season, and I think everyone was kind of expecting him to maybe not even play this year. Certainly, they've been talking about redshirting him. They had another discussion about that this week in the weekly availabilities that he's going to redshirt this year. Maybe he still will, and I think the plan will be to redshirt him. But should he, after what we saw today, is he not one of their best 2 or 3 backs?
I was trying to come up with something witty or clever to post on social media, and I couldn't put it all together because if we recall, even if we don't want to, from last season when Hayden broke out against Maryland, the rest of the season, it's like he disappeared. And again, I had nothing witty or clever to post, but I'm hoping that does not happen again this season because to your point, all of a sudden the offensive line looked like it could block when Hayden had the ball. And again, he may not have the top end explosive big play of a Henderson. He's also not quite a bowling ball like a Williams or a train him. However, he always is going forward. He always gains yards. He finds a crease. He gets north-south, and he's always more often than not, keeping the offense on schedule, if not ahead of schedule a little bit, which is what has been hurting this offense so far this season.
Yeah, and we actually had a little super chat there from Murphy Serafino. Says, "Please play Hayden more," is what he's saying. This gets dicey. I don't think if your goal, obviously your goal is to win a national championship, I think Dallan Hayden being available and being part of the offense is a helpful thing toward that goal. I don't know that you can put the toothpaste back in the tube now. This is the second straight year that he's come in under weird circumstances and not only given them a jolt, but, made you wonder, like, is he their best running back? I mean, is he their best all situation? There's guys who do certain things better than him in certain things, but is he their best, like, 3-down option? And I think it's a debate worth having. I don't think I would redshirt him. I don't know if chip status even allows you to do that. I mean, you can play 3 more games. I would think they're probably not going to be at full strength for Penn State in the running back room next week. I think Henderson's been precautionary. I think Mayan's generally precautionary, but did Chip look like someone who's going to be able to go right back out there in 6 or 7 days? That looked a little scary. Am I crazy that he might be their most versatile or their best, all situations guy?
He certainly takes full advantage of his opportunities when he gets them. And I think something that we should not get lost and we need to emphasize actually is that he was not the number 2 running back. He wasn't the number 3 running back. He was the you might even say 5 running back because Xavier Johnson's in there. So he comes in, I don't know if he got a game rep in terms of preparing for this ball game. You're so far down the depth chart. And, that's the nature of the business. That's not a knock on him necessarily. It's just what happens when the season gets here. But he comes in there, and here we are having this conversation. And, again, following social media throughout the game, he might be their best running back, all-purpose running back. Again, you mentioned it. He may not be the home run threat Henderson is. He may not be the big bruising running back at Williams or Trainham is, but he might be their best all-around back. Again, all of a sudden, it looks like the offensive line can block a little bit when he's getting the ball.
Yeah, I was super impressed with him. I mean, you talk about coming in ice cold. I mean, I'm sure he's getting some type of reps in practice, but he's not getting anywhere what the other guys are getting. He's maybe getting some scout team stuff. Like, this is to come in and just feel things the way he was feeling, finding the holes, finding the creases, running through contact. That's another thing, running through contact. I mean, how much has he been hit since last season? They don't do a lot of tackling to the ground in practice, especially for him, who's, again, scout team and such. That was super impressive. So that's one of our big 3 takeaways. Another thing I kind of want to talk about here is this 3 and out segment here. Kyle McCord. So last week, Kyle throws for 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. If you just looked at the box score, you would probably have come to the conclusion that Kyle McCord played his best game of the season. I don't think that was the case. I thought the first 2.5 quarters, the offense was all sorts of discombobulated. Today, I thought the opposite happened to him. I thought the final numbers, which, he's, a little bit over 50% completion percentage, like 270 something and 3 touchdowns. That should have been like 75, 80% completion percentage. I don't know about the touchdowns. Maybe, they ended up getting one anyway after the Marv drop, but the yardage, I thought the receivers might've left 100 yards on the field for him. And he got pulled early because of the blowout. I thought this was the sharpest game Kyle McCord played. I thought, we can nitpick 2 or 3 throws here and there, but from a perspective of just box score watching, this game's going to look worse than Maryland. I thought he was much better than he was against Maryland.
What you like to see from McCord is continuous improvement. He looks like he's getting better every week. Last week he had the slow start that had everyone screaming at the TV, but he bounced back and we had a fast start this week, and again, like you mentioned, the wide receivers had some drop ball issues today. Again, the weather was terrible, so let's not get lost. And but continuous improvement, a couple touchdown passes, finding multiple receivers. Thing you would like to see is he has a tendency to get lost sometimes in the pocket. He made some plays in the pocket as well, escaping and making some throws. However, he's got to take care of that football too. I think he lost 2 today, if I'm not mistaken. On one was end up ruled grounding, and I think he
one
the other one,
yeah,
if I'm not
so
mistaken.
just the one there.
Yeah. That's stuff he's got to continue to work on. Number one thing, learn just when to eat the ball. Hey, let's not make a loss a disaster. But again, big picture, I think we're looking at continuous improvement, and this may have been one of his better games thus far, if not his best.
Yeah, I mean, Marv, after a great start, I thought Marv got them off to a huge start. What he did on that first drive, you couldn't let Purdue hang around, especially the weather seemed to get worse as the game went on. So you couldn't let Purdue hang around. You wanted to kind of kill them quickly, and they were able to do that thanks in large part to Marv's contributions there on that first drive. And then all of a sudden, Marv, I think fairly Marv dropped at least 3 balls. I think if you actually asked Marvin how many he thinks he dropped, I think he probably thinks he dropped 5 balls today.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, I think I did, I may have made the post on social media. You got to help your quarterback out. The wide receivers are obviously the strength of this team, and he gives you one that you can get a hand on. You got to bring it in for him and convert those plays. Because those things, again, that keep the offense on schedule and turn and create explosive plays for the offense. So again, the wide receivers have definitely got to not let that happen again. Today wasn't this big of a deal. They obviously corrected on the next play. For example, you mentioned Marvin Harrison's drop and Stover catches touchdown on the next play, but competition's going to get tougher. And, we got a couple games here that everyone's been talking about in circle to see what this team's really made of. Those drops could be catastrophic, not just in the game, but potentially how the season turns out. So that's obviously something that's got to be a major focus of the offense next week, weather notwithstanding. That quarterback's throwing it in just about as weather as you're trying to catch it in. So you got to make plays for your quarterback when you have the opportunity to.
Finishing off 3 and out, defensive line hit a little bit today. I'm going to let you talk about that. You're big on defense, and just we've talked about this a million times. Defense getting home. They were able to do that a little bit today, especially when the game was slowing down.
We'll open it up. Nathan Baird, second row, Cleveland.com. Right before we talk about the game, kind of give us an update on where things are at. Mecca, Trevion, Denzel, I guess.
Yeah, I can't give you any updates right now. Sorry. I know everybody wants to know, but I can't do that right now.
You look like Chip left with a headphone. That's the accurate.
Yeah, again, I can't get into that right now. Yeah.
Did you like the way things started?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially, this game, this place, everyone was talking about some of the games that happened in the past, in 18 in particular. And we all know we have a big game next week. So, some people call it a trap game. Some people call these, different games. And looking at the weather about, 4 or 5 days ago, you look at it and you say, kind of have visions of Northwestern last year. And so we had to have a plan for that. But I talked to the team all week about how if you want to be a championship team, you got to be a competitive stamina. You got to be a competitive excellence. You got to bring it every week. And that's playing in the Big Ten. And, whether it's Purdue or Northwestern or, Iowa or, some of the games in the past where we struggled on the road in Nebraska that one year, it's playing on the road in October and November in this conference. It's not easy and you got to bring it. And one of the big things you have to do is you have to start fast on the road. You have to run the ball and stop the run. And, there was some really good points today.
Over here, Austin Ward, Rivals, the podcast.
Ryan, what went into the red zone package with Devin and got a score out of it, also turned it over? A little bit of a mixed bag. How do you evaluate it? Is that part of the plan moving forward?
Well, we started off with the weather, just looking, there was rain, there was wind, and certainly, didn't want to have the same situation that happened last year and wanted to make sure that, we had a good plan. And Devin is very explosive with his feet. He's strong, he's big, he's powerful, he's athletic. We feel like he gives us a little bit of something there. He also throws the ball really well, but that's something that we've looked at. We've been working on a little bit, and we felt like this was the right time on the road to do that. I think it did give us something, equate numbers in the red zone, but we can't turn the ball over on the 1 yard line. I mean, that in a close game, that could have been the difference. And so, Devin's doing everything for the first time, just like Kyle was doing. So I'm glad we're able to do that in this moment here, get him going with that. It was good. He took a couple shots, so I'm sure he'll be sore, but I thought he threw a nice ball. They loaded up the box, and we took a shot down there to Brandon. That was good to get under his belt, to make that throw. That was a big time throw. So, we'll keep looking at it, keep building his package, because we do feel like it gives us a little bit of a different changeup.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
I was getting comfortable wins, but doing a lot of sloppiness too. How prepared do you think you are for that?
Yeah, so I thought the first half, overall, we came out strong. Certainly, the fumble was something that we wish we had back. And then the defense, man, the ball goes down on the 2 yard line. They just keep fighting, just keep playing with 1 yard line. Yeah, so great job. And then they get the penalty, and then we hang in there, and they missed the field goal. It was like, wow. And then it started to rain a little bit, and second half we came out right down the field, and that was important. We wanted to come on the second half and play well in the first drive, and we did that. We came right down the field and scored. And then there was a kind of a point in there where we just kind of flopped around a little bit. I don't know if we took the foot off the accelerator a little bit, but certainly don't want to do that. But we have played in 4-quarter games this year, so I don't think that's an issue. There's been some times one time, our starters hadn't been in 4 quarters, halfway through the season. That's not the case in this situation. So, we just got to keep pushing and keep growing. But I feel much better about the way that we ran the ball, although, we were down 3 running backs in the game. So that certainly did play, a factor in all of this, and then Evan went in the game. We took Marvin out, took Tate out in a little bit of that stretch there. So, it was a job well done, but like you said, there's always things we got to get better at. We're certainly a work in progress, and we're continuing to grow and build, and we have to be at our best football next Saturday.
Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Right, as you said, it's always things to get better at, but this was a defense that thought would be pretty good coming into the year. There's 6 games in, it seems like they just keep getting better and better. Is this the performance you thought you might get from them when you got Darren on you?
You're talking about our defense. Yeah, because I thought their defense was good too. I thought they do some really good things. I think, Coach, really has a good plan, and he does a nice job. He doesn't make it easy, but no, I think it starts with our leaders on defense. There's a lot of guys who have been in a lot of battles before, so they got to bring it, and they keep fighting, and they making teams get it all the way into the end zone. They're fighting down the 1-2 yard line and continue to fight like that. And that's a good sign. I know Coach Knowles and the defensive coaches are going to see things they want to get better at and keep growing, because they know the challenges are going to get bigger and bigger. So the issues are there. They have to be addressed on both sides of the ball, 3 phases, and we got to keep doing that. So we know we're near where we need to be, but that's part of growing. You want to be playing your best football at the end of the season. You find a way to go 1-0 on Saturday night, and that's the goal. So we know we got a big challenge ahead of us, and the preparation starts now.
Over to the left, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
We talked to Justin on Wednesday. He talked about maybe simplifying things for his guys up front. Maybe you guys, how did you see that on the field today?
Well, yeah, and when you're down Trey, you're down Mayan, and Chip's your guy, and then all of a sudden you lose him in the game, it's like, okay, how are we going to run the ball here? So we got Dallan in there, and Dallan started to run well, but I thought, have to look at the film, but it seemed like we were rocking off the ball pretty good, even though it was a pretty loaded box at times again, and then it started to rain, and we started to get that, and then there was like 2 extra guys, they were bringing the safety down real low, and so it forced us to kind of push the ball down the field on a couple throws, which is fine, but and then Evan went in the game. Xavier took a couple handoffs too, coming out of the as a receiver that can give us a little something. But we certainly didn't have 3 of our running backs, and that makes a big difference. So to be able to run the way we did without having 3 of our guys was a good sign. So we got to get healthy this week.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan mentioned running backs. Dallan's done this a handful of times.
Yeah.
Giving you guys stuff. What makes him capable of, at a moment's notice, being ready to step in a game?
Yeah, I think he's got really good feet. I think he when the ball's in his hands, that's when he's at his best. And he's got good vision, good quickness, and but I think to your point, it shows his mental preparation because he hasn't played a bunch this year, and so to be able to go do that is says a lot about his preparation. And the things that we did today are things that are day one installation kind of plays. We had the stretch play going, we had the counter play going, and a few other things, a couple tosses, but he put it on the field. He took care of the ball. That's the number one thing. Certainly some things in protection that we need to get better at, but ran the ball hard, and it was good to see him step up in this moment on the road.
That's the bonus of him not playing the previous 4 games too, right? You have some games to burn there in case.
Well, that was it. Just in case something like this happened. We say a bomb goes off. A bomb was going off today when we lost Chip, and so hope to get everybody back for next week. But that's why we played it out like that.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Yes. I hope so. I think they came off the field with a bunch of energy and finished off some drives, and we ran the ball harder. We got downhill. We created some play action passes where guys were open down the field. I mean, you felt, I felt on the sideline like we were knocking people off the ball at times. I felt like our running backs were running hard. Now, whether that shows up on film, I got to go take a look at it. But like you said, you saw a good demeanor out there.
Over to the left.
You talked about Sober being an offensive weapon earlier this week, and he goes out and scores 2 touchdowns for you guys. How does a guy like that really help to secure them?
Well, he does a lot for us. I've said it before. He does a lot of the dirty work for us, in the run game, and then that creates play action passes. And but the catch he had in the one-on-one situation on, I don't know if it was a 3rd down or a 2nd and long, was a heck of a throw and catch. Then he did a nice job, kind of, snatching the ball quickly on the touchdown pass. The ball was kind of thrown a little bit outside of his frame, and he snatched it hard with his hands. And then the last one, that was a play action off of a counter play that, when you're running hard and the defense is showing up on the line of scrimmage, you can get open down the field if you're blocking inside and doing all the dirty work. And that's really him. He's a great captain, and he's a weapon for us both in the run game and in the pass game.
And final question, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, the way Dallan ran today, the way injuries have kind of impacted the running backs, and you mentioned on Tuesday that Luke and down there, he's got a redshirt.
Yeah.
Your eligibility, you looked at that, which is just sort of his future now. Yeah,
I think we got to look at and just see, what that room's looking like, and we'll kind of play it week to week. We didn't know how the season was going to play out, but we wanted to at least have the choice to be able to save his red shirt if possible. But, we'll sit down and talk if it's something that, we got to go play and do what's best for the team, and there's opportunities to go play, then we'll go from there.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Coach, you might be able to get a player or two outside of our locker room, but like I said, we're going to be hustling to get out of here.
Boy, Jerry's ready to get out of here, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. It's really weird. We heard that
That was Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. Looks like he kind of echoed some of our thoughts on Dallan Hayden kind of coming in cold and just some of the other things he was talking about there. We were almost through our 3 and out before Day took the podium. We got our people on the ground are telling us that Ohio State is trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. So he kind of snuck up on us there. Devin, let's revisit the defensive line getting home today. Seemed like a lot more activity there from the front 7. What did you see? And, kind of part 2 of that is, all right, how much of this do we chalk up to they're figuring things out? And how much of this is just, Purdue's not very good?
All of the above. If you have a good defensive line, you would expect them when they're playing an offensive line that's not up to their level to dominate them and put on a good showing. And that's what we started to see the Ohio State defensive line start doing today. All season long, they've been stout against the run, big picture. They've affected the pass game, but they haven't really hit home on sacks and started putting the quarterback on the ground. And that's what we saw them turn the page, turn the corner, however you want to say it, and start doing that today. I think they had 4 sacks off the top of my head.
Sounds right.
Like Williams had 1, Hall had 1, Sawyer had 2 maybe.
At least 1.5. Him and
1.5. JT was there, yeah. So he starts
Yeah.
seeing him hit home, and that's that creates negative plays. And they're doing it without relying on a lot of pressure. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and I know I've been on a warpath about it, about creating pressure without needing to bring extra guys. And that high risk, high reward, of course, everyone's picked up on it now this year. It's bend but don't break now this season. But to be able to play that and maximize that, if you want to go back 20 years and revisit when Ohio State had their best quote unquote bend but don't break defenses, well, look at who their defensive line was. And they're able to affect the quarterback. I mean, we can go all the way back to 2002 and look at how just loaded that defensive line was. Well, you could play bend but don't break and play it effectively and get home when you've got Will Smith as your defensive end, Tim Anderson, etc., Darian Scott. You flash forward a couple years and you had Mike Kudla and Bobby Carpenter playing defensive end. You don't need a lot of pressure when you got defensive ends who are hitting home. I could keep going on and on. So to see that defensive line take that next step and start putting the quarterback on the ground without relying on bringing 6 and playing cover 0, that could be the next step in that defense's progression to be going from a pretty stout defense to a potentially competing for postseason accolades type defense.
And that was part of your 3 deep here. You can see on the screen Devin's 3 deep. It was defensive improvement. Let's stick with that, though, for a minute. I think the secondary, they gave up a couple of plays there at the end of the game. I didn't really, fourth quarter, late game, I wasn't really too concerned about that. Denzel Burke, to me, is playing the cornerback position better than anyone that's played the cornerback position at Ohio State since Jeffrey Okudah in 2019. Am I crazy for that? It's probably not a very high bar given what we've seen the last few years, but I think Denzel is playing at an extremely high level, perhaps an All-American level.
And doing it very quietly. He doesn't get a lot of opportunities. And again, the corner is one of those positions where you typically only get the attention for one reason or another, and it's either really good or really bad. He doesn't get the ball thrown at him all that much, and when he does, he makes a play on it. And so again, to your point, 2019 with Okudah and Arnett and Sean Wade there, the 3 corners they had that year. So he's playing as good as any of those guys have played in the past few years. I think obviously talking about transfer portal and bringing in a guy that's really shirt up on the other side of the field. The Ole Miss transfer, Davison, whose last name I will butcher, so I'm not even going to attempt. Number 1, Davison, number 1. He's another one. He's brought a lot of physicality. He's brought that. I don't know if they still use the word swagger anymore, but he's playing with a lot of confidence that was lacking on the defense. And and he brings it every single play. And he's a very physical player, so it's not just Burke. It's really both corners have really been able to elevate that defense to the level they're playing at right now.
I saw it out of Davison right away in the spring. He brought a different level of physicality and intensity to the field. He did that all April during practices, all fall camp. So do you wonder if it's going to translate? Yes, of course. But this was kind of what I was hoping he would bring to this defense is that type of mentality. And I think he's done a great job. But, Burke's been tremendous. And again, it's almost like the Dallan Hayden thing. It would be easy for Denzel to get bored out there. Maybe you're going to see 2 or 3 balls a game your way and, get caught sleeping or napping. But every time they try and test him, he's in position, he's making a play. So he's playing at an extremely high level. The linebacker play better today, Devin?
Without going back, I was having a chance to go back and look at it again and look at how run fits and all that football nerd stuff that I like to dig into. But it did see by and large better. You saw Cody Simon get a lot of run today and a lot of real run. The past 2 seasons, he's been an alternate and he'd get a kind of a series here and there to give Chambers or Eichenberg a rest. But, he got real significant playing time today, and it'll be interesting to go back and look through the game and see the impact he had. But it seemed, knee-jerk reaction, like he did have an impact and fitting up the run a little bit better and putting dudes on the ground when the opportunity to. So I'll be curious to see what it looks like going forward between the 3 main linebackers that next week and the rest of the season.
They throw that 3 Devin's 3 things back up there so I can quarterback this. But again, we talked about Hayden. for me, the redshirt thing on Hayden is twofold. And I talked about this a little bit before Ryan Day came on, but not only are we talking about a situation where I think he makes them a better team. So you're trying to win a national championship this year. I would think you would do whatever you need to do to ensure you give yourself the best chance of doing that. And I think Dallan Hayden being part of things gives them a better chance of doing that. So there's part one. Part two of this is I think red shirts have become, I don't want to say obsolete, because you're going to be able to cherry pick a couple players around the country every year. Like, boy, glad they redshirted him. But at a place like Ohio State, the red shirt is so overrated when we talk about this. Ohio State's trying to recruit 3-and-done players. They're trying to recruit NFL players. A lot of those guys, unless they just have injury issues throughout their careers, aren't going to be here a fifth year. Like, if to redshirt Dallan Hayden and then say, well, we're going to do that because we're going to separate our running back room, which is a little clogged at the top, but we're going to put some separation between our running back room, and then we're going to make him our feature back for 3 more years. Well, that's not going to happen. Like, if he has a great year next year, it doesn't matter if you redshirted him this year. If he comes back next year and he runs for like 1,500 yards, guess what's happening? He's going to the NFL. And if he comes back next year and he's not good enough to be one of your top 2 backs and he runs for like 350 yards, do you really want him here a 5th year? Like, this whole idea of redshirting is very like 1970s, when like you didn't play freshmen, and, you know, it's just not really a thing that comes into the equation a lot for Ohio State. A lot of the guys they redshirt early who end up being stars never use that 5th year anyway. So those are the 2 reasons I would burn the redshirt.
You know, something I was thinking of as you were talking about it, you know, about the only reason I can think of redshirting a player anymore is when you just know they're not physically able to play in terms of their body yet. You know, offensive line comes to mind right away. Defensive line, you know, the positions where you're going to be tied up with a dude. You know, if you come in as a 270-pound defensive tackle, well, probably don't want to throw them out there right away to go against 350-pound offensive guards, or, you know, using a bit of hyperbole there. But, you know, other than that, I really don't see, or quarterbacks, you know, you don't want to throw them out there necessarily. But even then, you know, it's still kind of like you said, if they can play a little bit, let's get them out there and see what they can do. So those are the only 2 reasons I can think of really redshirting a player anymore. Because, again, to your point, year 3, you know, any running back gets a hot year, they're going to be gone, especially at that position. So, yeah, I think, you know, to tie it all together, I think between that factor and the way he looked today, and, you know, I think you just got to play him. I mean, feed 5, I guess, is what I would say. He looks like your best back thus far until he's not. And then go to someone else, see what happens. But, yeah, right now I'm on the feed 5 camp.
I would not be – I mean, and I know he can play 3 more and not burn the red shirt. So maybe there's a way they can somehow maneuver this. I don't think there is, but, you know, maybe there's a way they can maneuver this, that he only plays in the most important games. I think today kind of throws that out the window. I would have him ready to go for Penn State. That's such a huge game. It is huge to the point where, and I know people are going to freak out in the comments because I'm not saying I'm okay with Ohio State losing to Michigan, but the Penn State game is so big next week that there is a reasonable scenario where Ohio State could, you know, if they beat Penn State, they could lose one at the end of the year, even if it's not Michigan, and still get in the playoff. If you lose to Penn State, you are in deep trouble. So this Penn State game's probably the biggest game on their schedule in that regard. So I would not leave any bullets, you know, lying around. They need to go into this thing with every weapon they have. And so I would make Hayden part of the game plan next week. We'll see if they do. The one thing we have to talk about, I don't know how, you know, I know Ohio State's in a huge hurry to get out of West Lafayette. I don't know if our guys, if Ohio State's hurry may push our guys onto Tony and Tom and the gang here a little earlier. So I want to make sure we get to this, because I have to, like, celebrate this. A quarterback sneak happened today, and it wasn't the opponent. It was Ohio State, and it was executed perfectly. And it was even executed exactly how we told them to execute it. It was putting Caden Curry in there at fullback and having him drive your 225-pound quarterback into the pile. Oh, my goodness. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, as I Philadelphia Eagles shirt here, this was a very careful wardrobe selection just for this moment. What are we doing? Have we found the secret formula now on 3rd and 4th and 1?
You would hope so. It's brutally efficient. I think Tom Brady even quarterback sneak. So if he'll do it, anybody should be doing it. Get the yard. One thing I like to see going forward too is I know everyone's kind of accustomed to taking a shot when you have 2nd and 1. And this will piggyback going to your 3rd and 1 quarterback sneak, but get the first down. I think with the way the rules have changed, something I was thinking about today is I'm not sure I necessarily like shots anymore on 2nd and 1. Get the first. Make sure you get that next possession secured and keep moving the ball down the field. And again, to your point about quarterback sneak, you got the first without having to do a double reverse, flea flicker, fake, underhand toss, tackle eligible throwback, or whatever we've seen not work, the past few years. Just get the first, the most efficient way possible to make sure you're continuing your possession with the shortened clock rules, because again, it's Purdue, you're playing with the lead a little bit, is what it is. But, next week, it's like talk about the drops that could be, not just catastrophic for the ball game. I think another thing we can't get lost on, speaking of quarterbacks run the ball, the red zone creativity. You heard Coach Tate talk about it. Utilize Devin Brown there in the red zone. Got him one, almost got him another if he doesn't put the ball on the ground. It was kind of a shot where they took a helmet right on the ball. So that kind of does happen. But again, I think you have to give the coaching staff credit for trying to find solutions instead of just beating their head against the wall with a double reverse, flea flicker, fake tackle, throwback, or whatever on 4th and 1. That they went with, hey, let's put in our big dude that can run a little bit, run some zone read, which teams typically don't see us doing. Let's run a quarterback sneak. We haven't done that since the playoff last year. They won't expect it. So you got to give the coaching staff credit for trying to find solutions to their short yardage and red zone issues. And it worked out for them today at least. So we'll see how it goes continue going forward.
I think today was important. And this, in my opinion, should have been done Western Kentucky at the latest. But they put some new stuff in today in the red zone and short yardage, the quarterback sneak, Devin Brown. So now there's some stuff on film that other teams at least have to be aware of. Now the Devin Brown thing's a little more obvious because you're bringing a new quarterback into the game. So you're kind of alerting everybody of what you're doing, but just throwing that quarterback sneak in there. And now you can actually, the quarterback sneak's a simple play, of course, but you can run different stuff off of that. You can fake the quarterback sneak. You can do a pop pass or even an end around or a bootleg. You can get in the pistol or the gun and then run up and get underneath center and do the quarterback. So now there are some things some other teams have to prepare for that, quite frankly. And did we see any boundary stretch? I don't think we saw that today very much. So I thought they cleaned up some of that quite a bit. Here's Buckeye quarterbacks today. We can talk about the Devin Brown package. I don't love the 2 quarterback thing. It worked, obviously, the first time. It would have worked the second time had Devin held on to the ball. Once they decided to do it, and once Devin Brown fumbled, I like that they did put Devin back in the game. I'm a big proponent of if your quarterback does something silly, to get him back out there and let him correct it. This is how I felt early in the season when they pulled McCord out of the Indiana game and didn't let him go right back out there after his mistake. So I like that they did that. But is this something that you would do moving forward? I mean, is this something you go to the well, maybe one too many times, or is this something that you would make a staple moving forward?
So I'm going to put something together for you here on the fly here. I wonder, let's go in the Wayback Machine here. We all saw, Urban Meyer at halftime of the ball game last week look less than pleased with Ohio State's performance at halftime. I just wonder if he went to his hand-chosen successor with this 2006 Florida red zone package and said, here, Ryan. Let's not reinvent the wheel. This is what works. You go ahead, put this in and save yourself a headache. I think it's one of those things. It gives you an answer that you didn't have before. Football at the end of the day, it's about, winning the numbers game, getting one more guy on the side of the ball than the defense got, or getting one more guy on the side of the ball the offense don't have. And this is a way, when you're just handing the ball off, you lose that, especially in the red zone. We don't really have that throw threat off the quarterback action. And, especially when you don't run, he's not a big, McCord's not a big bootleg guy, especially down in the red zone. There's ain't the room. So being able to add those numbers back up with the quarterback as the runner, and, I'll have to go back and watch again, obviously, but it didn't look like it was necessarily his own read. It looked more like it was a fake to train him and foul him. So there's your numbers advantage right back to you that the offense had been given up. So I like it. I like to see him keep it going moving forward. See if they can't build off it as the season progresses, because, again, it's a tool in the toolbox that you can go to if you need it again.
Yeah. So, again, I'll take my little victory lap celebration today. Successful quarterback sneak. Hopefully we see that moving forward. I want everyone who's watching, listening, whatever, or even on the rewatch, we need a nickname for it. The tush push, we can't. Everyone's using that. We need a Buckeye centric nickname. So I will be challenging here our listeners, our watchers, to come up with one that we can kind of put a stamp on that and just call it that moving forward. Philadelphia's got brotherly shove, which is just tremendous, and so we need something like that for Ohio State. Kyle McCord, there it is. Passing leaders, one of the top guys in the Big Ten. You see all those other guys up there in yardage and all those interceptions. Only one from McCord. So this was, this was coming into today. So he added another 3 touchdowns, another about 275. So here we go. And here's the Field Stroud McCord comparison. We did this through 3 or 4 games. Here it is through 6. Again, presented without any bias, or just we're throwing the numbers up. You guys take out of that what you will. Obviously, there's some different circumstances with all of them. You got Fields' legs. You've got, Stroud, the schedule he had to play, what he was asked to do, maybe a little more than the other guys. But you also have McCord, the Notre Dame game and the drive and everything else. So, hey, that's where we're at through first 6 starts of these last 3 as when Ryan Day's been head coach is where we cut it off. So there's your comparison. We're going to do one more hit here for Wager Wire. We did this at the beginning of the show. We do have a new sponsor for postgame. It's Wager Wire. Wager Wire is an app that helps you become a better by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. So if you're on 3 or 4 different sports books, you can go in and it'll sync all of them. You can track all the bets you're making in one app. And again, the thing I love about this for our readers, our subscribers, our listeners is they're not a sports book. They're an app that syncs your sports books. So they want you to win money. It helps them if you win. We're not having a sponsorship from someone who actually actively wants you to lose. They want you to win. It helps their bottom line if you guys win. So this helps you keep track of all your action, your betting history and stats. They're adding new sports books all the time. They have a lot of the major ones. I think they're still working on getting Fanatics, but they got a lot of the major sports books. It's a great system. I just tried it out about a week ago, so I'm using it now. I've had a lot of fun with it. I know they got a lot of other things in the pipeline too. So everyone keep your eye out for that. You can go to the App Store or the Play Store if you're on an Android. Search for Wager Wire, download the app, and you can follow them at Wager Wire on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days. They have a really good social media presence as well. So use promo code Buckeye Huddle when you sign up for the app. Use promo code Buckeye Huddle if you sign up for the app, and then obviously if you do like the bonus, you can get the bonuses. So if there's a special at BetMGM or DraftKings or Caesars, whoever it is, you can actually get the sign-up bonus through the Wager Wire app. You don't actually need to go to the 5 individual sites to get the sign-up bonuses. You can get them through the app. So appreciate everyone who gives them a shot. And we will now toss it over. The Buckeye Weekly crew, Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening to our instant reaction. Now we've got the Buckeye Weekly crew, Tony, Tom, Kevin standing by from the luxurious, was that Brian Hartline said, the luxurious Purdue facilities. Take it away, guys. Not an audio. All right, we will let them get their audio figured out because there's no audio right now. Devin, last thought here on the game and just kind of what the Buckeyes need to maybe do here preparing for Penn State before all the other guys get the audio.
You got to keep getting better. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but it's true. What they did today is not going to be good enough next week. So you've got to continuous improvement. Like to see defensive line, continue to take that next step and start putting the quarterback on the ground some more, create those negative plays without needing to bring a bunch of numbers in the pressure game. Like to see the linebackers play a little bit tighter in the run game. We saw there Purdue had a stretch there where they're ripping off some chunk runs. Obviously, don't want to have that towards the back end of the season here. So find a way to fit that up, clean those up, and those are my takeaways on defense. Offense, continue to build that identity. Getting out to wide receivers. I mean, that's the strength of your team. Looks like it's the direction they want to head. Who knows what's going to happen with the running back room, the way it looks right now. But again, another thing I got to say too is I think you got to have a real serious conversation about who that number one guy is, and is it actually the guy you thought you were going to redshirt?
Yeah, I mean, Hayden just made his case for me today that he needs to be. Does he have to be the lead back? I mean, I think we can have a great debate about that on a podcast episode or something, but he's got to be part of this offense somehow. I just think he gives you the best of both worlds. I think he gives you enough toughness, enough quickness and wiggle, and I just think he's your best all situations guy. I think a lot of the other guys are kind of situational, short yardage, or you're looking for a home run from Henderson, et cetera. But so we'll see. We'll see if Hayden's part of it next week. I think we've got audio now from the Buckeye Huddle team. Tony, Tom, Kevin, are we good now?
Do you have us now? Are we good now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, well, wonderful.
I'm sure the internet there is just phenomenal. I'm sure the Wi-Fi at that facility is just phenomenal, just like in state of the art, just like everything else there. So.
It's okay. Well, hopefully it gets better. It's still better than it could be.
Well, it's a lot better than it was the last time. Purdue has substantially upgraded their facilities since 2018. So our surroundings are one of many things that has gone a lot better for Ohio State and Ohio State-related folks since the last time Ohio State was here.
Yeah. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Devin, for handling the first portion of this. Welcome, everybody, to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
If you're wondering why Tony is using his golf announcer voice, it's because we are in a room full of working media, lots of photographers trying to get their pieces edited, Pete writers, I think probably writing in a couple spots. So we're trying not to be too loud, trying to be respectful of those around you. So
for once,
we're trying something new, turning over a new leaf. But yeah, I mean, this was, I think, in many, many, many ways, the exact opposite of the last time Ohio State was here. I was looking around the stadium in the middle of the fourth quarter and thinking, wow, there were a lot more people here the last time, and they were a lot more excited than the people who are here now.
Well, I think a lot of those people had to come back in because they had left and wanted to come back in and just be part of it. But we have a super chat.
We do have a super chat from Mike Farino. What would your game prediction have been if I told you at 9 a.m. that Trey, Mayan, Abuka would be out, Chip would miss 90% of the game, and Marv had what was arguably his worst game as a Buckeye, also -2 in turnovers?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I would be like, well, that sounds about right for West Lafayette and Ohio State.
Yeah.
The Marvin Harrison thing is interesting. At least 3 drops. Are
you counting the end zone one as a drop?
Or Stat Broadcast is counting.
Okay.
Okay. But I mean, he should have had that one because he's Marvin Harrison, and we've seen that. So you're graded on a curve, like the curve you have created. But definitely, there was one where he's probably being interfered with in the ball. Like he saw it too late, hit him in the hands. Kyle McCord hit some people in the hands today, and they did not help him out.
Yeah.
There are at least 4 drops for him today. But all of those things are interesting, and it's something that I've been thinking about where this wasn't Ohio State's best game, just like last week's wasn't their best game, but they're doing more than covering. they're covering and then some, and this one was and then some.
Yeah, and this was not a perfect game, but in a number of ways it showed improvement. I mean, this is not the easiest place in the world to win. I mean, this is not we're not overselling Purdue here. Purdue is in year one under Ryan Walters, and I think this is you sense that maybe he's going to get something cooking here, but they are like preheating the oven. It is not time for cooking yet. But you look at Kyle McCord, 16 to 28, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, at least 4 drops, at least. So you put that on, and all of a sudden you're 20 for 28, and you're over 300 yards, and you go from 57% completions to 70%. Yeah. And this is a Purdue team that's very banged up, and they're missing some guys. But Ryan Walters is also a defensive coach by trade, and Ryan Walters is a very active part of the defense. Like, he was on the sideline, like, signaling stuff in. Like, they had the sheets behind him so you couldn't see what he was doing from the camera deck. So this is, and he was great at Illinois last year as their defensive coordinator. So this is a guy who knows what he's doing. And Ohio State, I mean, the first half especially, they were way over 6 yards a carry in the first half, and that number just kind of gradually shrunk down and ended up looking very unimpressive. But I feel like there was a lot for Ohio State fans to feel encouraged about in this one.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get to the
super chat. Murphy Serafino says, please play Dallan Hayden more. I mean,
we knew that was going to happen in terms of the fan base being like, what the heck? Because he comes in and looks good. Immediately only has a couple of negative plays, but for the most part kept them very much on schedule. As Ryan Day said, protected the ball, which is the key point. It is interesting how effective he is and what they were doing, but I also think they were doing some different things, some wrinkles that they threw in, that counter that they kept running, if you want to call it a counter, that I think it was Ryan Day had respect for Ryan Walters, that they needed to come up with some different things, and they were doing some things we haven't seen before in the passing game, and turn some of these misdirections and boots and things like that. But Dallan Hayden, does he go back into the closet if everybody else is healthy next week?
I don't think he should, but I mean, I texted you guys this during the game. He does not look like a running back who needs to be redshirting this year. He does not look like a running back who should only be playing when other guys are hurt. I mean, he looked very good in the Maryland game and then disappeared. And then he looked very good in this game. He should not disappear again. There are guys ahead of him who have not been as consistent as he has been. And maybe this is a function of, that playing Purdue and not Notre Dame or whatever. But I mean, I kind of want to see him not work before he disappears again. We got a couple super chats. Jermaine Goen says, when are we going to have the conversation that Hayden is a better running back than Henderson?
Well, I mean, we can have that conversation right now, and we can continue to have it later on. I would like to go back and look, because I wonder if this was the most efficient game for a running back, an Ohio State running back this year, because Travion Henderson has had the best game, which was 100 and some yards rushing. But I do wonder the success rate of that game, there are some zeros and some ones in there. I wonder what the success rate of Dallan Hayden's game. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the best game they've had from an efficiency standpoint.
It just felt like he ended up with 6.9 yards per carry, long of 19. So this was not, it's 11 carry, 76 yards, but it wasn't, there was a 65-yarder in there. It was just
consistent,
very consistently 5, 6, 7 yards. And
that's what he's always been too.
And and you look at the the third down conversions, it felt like it got to 3rd and 1, and just, I mean, this is extremely scientific, but it gets to 3rd and 1, and I was not thinking, oh Lord, here you go again. It was just sort of like, well, it's 3rd and 1, and they're going to convert because they've been converting all day.
They converted their first 6.
Yeah, I mean, that is. Maybe you have found something, and this is a little bit maybe of when a team hits a couple of pass plays in a row, and then they're like, and now we're going to run the ball. It's like, why don't you make them stop the thing? I kind of want to see Dallan Hayden not work before he gets pulled off the field for someone else. And Travion Henderson, when he's been healthy, has been good this year, but he hasn't been consistently healthy. is there make the case to me that Mayan Williams should be playing ahead of Dallan Hayden based on what we've seen this year?
I can't. And we'll get to the super chats real quick. But first, Dallan Hayden reminds me of my confirmation money back when I was like 10 or 11 years old, right?
Did it have pictures of bees on it?
No, but it was like probably like $120, $150. Back then that was a lot of money, and I stashed it away so I wouldn't lose it. And then I forgot about it, and then I forgot where I stashed it, and then one day, like a year and a half later, I found it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's Dallan Hayden. He's my confirmation money. Basically, they stashed him away after having like, oh, we've got this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just put it up for safekeeping so we don't lose it. Then they forgot about it, and they forgot where they put it, and now they found it again today. I just wonder, are they going to go spend it, or are they going to go put it somewhere else?
Yeah. Okay, super chat from Mike Smith. Going back to last year, even for some reason, the running game looks better with Hayden in there. We seem to have a delay of game problem, and I guess we are good for one grounding penalty a week. I mean, the delay of game thing is bizarre. It was just there are plenty of times when I'm looking up at the clock, and it's like, okay, there's 7 seconds left. You just being there, being at the game. Basically, you're not counting in your head consciously, but about how long the play clock runs. And in your head, sometimes there's like alarm bells that go off, like, hey, it seems like the play clock's running out. And you look up and it's like, 5. Yeah. And they're still screwing around with shifting guys around. And it's like, if I'm doing this, it's not my job to know what the play clock is. And if I'm picking this up, someone on the coaching staff, the quarterback, I mean, someone's got to figure that out.
It's trying to get the perfect play in with players who haven't played as much, but these aren't new penalties, but I think the number of them is new, but it's not a great Purdue defense. Do you need the perfect play? You don't.
No. And Ohio State 9 penalties, 51 yards. Last week, I think it was 10 for 81. So,
getting better.
Ryan Day didn't get penalized today. That was good. That was an encouraging sign. Yeah, it was. There's just a bunch of little sloppy stuff, and we'll get to special teams later. But Mike Smith, even though they got home at times, I think the blitzing off the edge by Purdue will help for the game plan next week.
Yeah, it was good that Kyle McCord got a look at things like that, and so did the offensive line. I think anytime you're putting him under pressure, it's good. Then you'll go look back at the film. I think the Ohio State defense the same way. They were getting after it, and I think the confidence, they continued to build that confidence, and they didn't. They had a 100-yard rusher. They gave up 100 yards to Maccabee, which was a little surprising, but I don't think it really concerned them because not that they were garbage yards, but the game was effectively it was a Michigan blowout at halftime.
Yeah, I mean it was 27-0, and if it's 27-0,
go ahead and run it.
Yeah, I mean, please keep the clock moving. Keep the clock moving. Mike Farino, super chat. There was also a completely different run scheme this game, a lot less stretch. Not sure it's fair to judge when the play calling was so different. And that's true. They did run. They ran. You mentioned a lot more counter, pin and pull. Ross Fulton. I actually texted him during the game because sometimes I want to sanity check myself.
Right.
And just say how much of this is the improved run game versus better offensive line play versus Hayden versus Purdue being bad versus different play calling. And he said more reliance on the run plays that have worked for them this year.
Yeah. So,
but also he says, and Hayden looks good.
Well,
so, there's a little from column A, a little from column B there. But yes, it was a different scheme offensively.
And Justin Frye talked about reducing some of the scheme that they've been doing because it hasn't been working. So you go to the well that works more often, and you're going to have to do that against Penn State. As Ryan Day has said, good teams have tendencies because you're able to do stuff against whomever, and they know it's coming. And you're able to do it. That's because you're better than they are. And so whether this is early enough to build tendencies, like Penn State's going to know what works. And so they'll have to prepare for that. But if you're good enough at it, doesn't necessarily matter whatever everybody else is preparing for. And that's what you want to get to.
Well, there are offenses. I mean, I saw, I think, Matt Finkus on Twitter talking about the fact that Ohio State, Eddie George got, won a Heisman Trophy just running power and ISO, basically. And you don't have to out-scheme people all the time. Sometimes you can just out-talent, out-execute people. That was kind of Mike Leach. How many pass plays did Mike Leach have? And he threw the ball every play. It was, you run mesh, you run 4 verts. I mean, you do it better and you out execute the other team. Super chat from Mike Smith. I'm curious if they use the Brown package more but leak a tight end out in a delay for a short passing touchdown, especially in a tight spot. I thought the Devin Brown short yardage Tate Martell Memorial package was really interesting, a creative solution to a problem that they very clearly have had. And why did you break that out this week instead of saving it for Penn State next week? I don't understand.
That was going to be my question to you, because sitting next to Kevin and Pat Murphy, Pat said the same, like, why do you break that out right now? And I said, because you're not going to use it next week against Penn State.
Maybe.
I mean, but if it's effective, you kind of have to.
Right, and it was effective. I mean, the pass was. I was a little surprised at the pass.
That was a bad pass. It should have been a pick six.
It looked like. I mean, to me, it looked like he was it was a great pass if it's hacky sack, because he hit the defender right in the foot, which I don't think what he was trying to do. But and then on the other one, the guy just on the fumble, the guy just put his helmet on the ball, and there's nothing. That was a touchdown, and the guy just made a play.
That throw was a very ball don't lie type of thing, where if it was a better throw and the defender was like looking, that would have been a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next player in that same drive, you end up turning it over. Very ball don't lie.
Yeah. But I think that was a creative solution. Was there not a Kyle McCord quarterback sneak at one point?
Yes.
Too? Yes, I thought there was. And,
all aboard McCord, as I called it, Tom. I'm the first person to come up with that.
That is very, very clever. And at a place with a train whistle. I mean, boy, I don't know how loud that train whistle sounded on the TV broadcast, but I can tell you, having stood directly in front of it for 2/4 of the game, it's plenty loud.
So we're down there for like the last couple of minutes of the game, and Tim May and I are talking, and for like a minute straight, every time he tried talking to me, they'd blow the horn, and they'd be like, hold on. And they'd stop, and they'd be like, and then they'd blow it again. He's like, forget it.
This is why he has to talk in quickies, because there's not enough time between the train horns.
Yeah, no, it's very loud down there on the field. I couldn't really hear much in the press box.
Coming from Janiro Dingle, to make Penn State plan for it, it may have options off the package.
Well, you're definitely going to you definitely want Penn State to plan for it. They're going to expend resources preparing for that, which is a good thing. Now it's just a matter again of doing it better than they had prepared for it, and doing something off of that. But there is going to be some concern there of throwing there based on that throw that should have been intercepted. You're like, Devin, you can't do that. Like, if we're going to have you throw it, you got to be right about it. And he wasn't.
And he made his second pass of the day was substantially better.
That was beautiful.
That was a nice pass to Brandon Inniss for a 58-yard touchdown. Oh man, Brandon Inniss was real excited when he scored a touchdown. And I think that was his first career catch.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. That was. Those are always. There's always, it's raining. It's the fourth quarter. The game has been over for an hour and 15 minutes. And it's like, do I really want to go out and shoot photos in the fourth quarter? And then you get one of those like, oh, good. Yeah. I'm glad as always, Tony, I'm glad I stood in the rain.
Hey, I stayed out there as well for 3 minutes. The last 3 minutes of the game, the most exciting, as they say.
Yes. Just looking through the numbers, it's so interesting. I mean, Marvin Harrison targeted 13 times, and he feels like someone who, as long as they're as long as he's in single coverage, they are throwing him the football, and that's what they should do. 6 catches, listed as 3 drops, 105 yards. That first drive, holy smokes! That first drive was just one of those. When they talk about guys who are faster than they look on film, and you get there and guys just the angles are wrong and that kind of stuff. Marvin Harrison is just one of those guys where it's just like, I don't think it translates until you see it in person, and it's like, oh, he can do all of the things, and we have no answers there. And there were, he very, how easily, if he hangs onto those balls, 9 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I mean that.
And Purdue defenders were doing some talking to him as well, which maybe that was effective, and maybe that got into his head a little bit. But he's always fun to watch. But those are obviously not catches or drops that you would expect him to have, and I wouldn't expect him to have them moving forward. We were joking in the press box that we're not even going to see him on Wednesday. Like, he won't come out for interviews just because he's going to be at the Jugs machine, the Monarch machine. Like, I don't have time to talk, guys.
He's someone who puts in the work. This is not someone who is coasting. This is definitely someone who's putting in the work. Chip Trainum, we talked a bunch about the other running backs. That was a hard hit, and it looked I mean, I only am judging this based off of a photo I have, but it looked like he got hit in the front, but also like maybe when his head whipped back, it hit someone else's head. Maybe like there were two defenders here. He kind of looked like he maybe got sandwiched. I don't know if they showed a replay on the broadcast, but it was one of those hits when just the way it looked, I just kind of went, oh, that's not good. And then he got up a little slowly and then kind of like staggered. It was kind of like, okay, so he's done for the day.
Well, he did more than stagger.
He fell. He fell. Yeah.
So he stayed on the sideline from what I saw. Later in the game, he was on the sideline.
Yeah.
Obviously no helmet or anything.
Yeah.
But
I bet the train horn was great.
Oh.
And if he was in the protocol, they probably would have taken him into the locker room. So that's the question Rusty's asking.
Yeah. What is Rusty asked? What is the OSU concussion protocol? Can Chip play next week? I think there is a baseline test that they have, and so when are you cleared? He could get cleared by a doctor in 3 days, or it could be multiple weeks. Just you don't know.
Do they fly home after a concussion? Like immediately after?
I think you're not supposed to. I believe this is my experience with this question is you're not going to believe it, but the Mets screwed this up with a player named Ryan Church about 10 years ago and had him fly home from I think Colorado with a concussion, and it exacerbated it. So I am not a doctor. I don't have the answer to that question, but certainly you could just drive home. It's only 4 hours.
Well, not driving home.
Yeah.
No, but Ryan Dad. I was a little surprised we got no update on Denzel Burke. No update. Just what was that? What happened?
Was there any indication as to what? I didn't even see it.
I did not either. Just noticed like Jermaine Matthews coming in at one point and saw Burke waiting for the medical tent to be erected so that they could put him in there. And then he went into the locker room, and I kept looking to see. I was going to text you to see if he ever came back. If you ever saw him on the field on the sideline after that.
I saw him in the second.
So, generally when something happens in days like, it doesn't appear to be long-term. Now, he did say later on, he's like, we hope to have them all back next week. But is that just a coaching? Right. We hope that there's world peace.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's not actually news. We hope, yes, of course. You would like all of your good players to be back for next week. Yes. That doesn't tell me anything. It sounds like that sounds like an answer, but it's not. Ryan Dawes says, when I saw the replay with Chip, I was totally shocked. It was a clean hit. I think it was a clean hit. I think he just got hit in a bad way, not that it was a bad hit.
Well, and he was looking to punish somebody, and that was some severe football on that one. So I kind of like how we did not expect, Emeka to play in this game. I would not expect him to play next week. Now, not knowing anything other than usually when you see somebody stumble on the field, that's probably going to hold them back a little bit.
And
I mean, look at the Arvell Reese has missed 4 games.
Yeah, and I don't think I saw him out there today, even though he wasn't on the list. And they have been very cautious with that. Yeah. They've managed that. I mean, you go back to the Peach Bowl, and it's the fourth quarter, and it's a close game, and it's, your best offensive player. And, when Harrison went down with that hit, and they took his helmet away from him, and they didn't play him, even though that is, he could have been the difference between them winning and losing that game and winning a national championship. And they were cautious then. They're going to be, cautious. They're going to do it right because they know there's lots of long-term repercussions from that kind of injury. So they will be cautious with it. And they have, if you have Travion Henderson back next week, then maybe that just means more carries for Dallan Hayden, and that's okay. You have depth in that running back room, and that's fine.
Tony Alford and Ryan Day have said, since either signing day or the first day of spring ball, we're going to need them all. And you're not going to need 5 running backs 2 years in a row, are you? It's like, and there's still Xavier Johnson out there running the ball. Evan Pryor got some time out there. Yeah, it's good to have depth, but man, at some point, find the cursed object that has been put into the locker room at Ohio State.
Just looking through some of these numbers. Cade Stover just continues to be just reliable. Not, I don't know that he's necessarily. I mean, I don't know that he's necessarily going to win the Mackey Award, but. He could be a Mackey Award finalist, and it would not be.
Brock Bowers got hurt today.
It didn't sound like that was super serious, but Super chat from Ryan Dawes. Would this have been 41-0 at the half if it wasn't for the drop passes and the fumble by Devin Brown? I mean, it was 27-0, right?
Was it?
I think it was 27-0 at half, and it was 20-0 at half. 20-0. They scored.
So when they scored 3 other touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should have counted.
Yeah. I don't know if they get to 41, but you tack on another touchdown or two.
Yeah.
34.
34. Yeah. I don't know what happened after some of those drops. Although Marvin, did they score on the drive that Marvin dropped the touchdown on?
I think that might have been. Show. I think that might have been the Devin Brown fumble drive, maybe. But super chat from Mike Farino. Not relevant to the game, but OSU did get a commit today from a 2025 top 100 defensive back.
Yeah, Kevin, the name real quick. Blake Woodby,
okay.
St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So, yes, as you said, top 100 guy. It's always good to get, as we say it every time, as many corners and safeties as you can get in this offense, especially corners, because they can become safeties. They can become nickels. You need as many as you can get because you don't know how many of them are going to turn out. And sometimes they get hurt, as we saw last year when 5 different guys started. Sometimes they transfer, as we've also seen with J.K. Johnson and many others.
Yeah, but and that's an area where I feel like Ohio State's recruiting has really picked up. They went through a spell in 2017, 2018 kind of time when it felt like they missed on so many corners. And then when Ohio State was struggling at corner in 2020, 2021, 2022, it's like, boy, you go back through the what ifs. You got a couple real good ones for 2024. Now you got another top 100 one for 2025. That's a big deal.
Yeah, good start.
Super chat from Murphy Serafino. Do you think Dallan gets more run now?
Well, as they said, it's going
to be hard for him to get less.
Yeah, well, it's week to week, and they love Travion Henderson, and no matter what Dallan Hayden does, it's like, well, we're only in like with you, that sort of thing, but. He has continued to produce when called upon, and that is something that's a special quality. Not that you just occupy carries. Like, I'm going to do something with my time, and he's done that. And he continues. This is the second game he's played, and he got a little bit of playing time against Indiana at the end, I believe. And then this is the old adage. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. Like he stayed ready. And a situation where he is being told, "We're going to redshirt you. We don't want to wait. We don't want to waste your opportunity, but be ready." And it's like that. Those are 2 different messages.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to be able to, I guess, listen to both, accept both, and filter out the words that mean the most to you, that keep you like, I understand the goal, and I will prepare, and I accept my fate as a redshirt. But I'm still going to prepare to play every single week. It's rare.
Yeah, but that's he has so far answered the bell the 2 times that they've really needed him. And what's so strange is last year after the Maryland game, it wasn't like they got everyone back against Michigan. They were still shorthanded. Yeah. It was just, and now it's Chip Trayanum. And what happened to Dallan Hayden? And so. We'll see if that happens again with Penn State on deck.
Coming in Top Gun, Maverick was in the Alert 5 fighter and got into the mix and saved the free world and got to go back to Top Gun.
It's very true.
Why is Kevin off camera? Well,
you just wouldn't, Maverick.
Super chat from Mike Smith. Mark touched on it, and I agree. Is redshirting Hayden really a big deal? If it happens and he has a good year, he could leave anyway. Use what works, and you got to win this year. I mean, it's not like redshirting him. If he is what it looks like he could be, he's not going to be a 5-year player anyway. And so. I get they're trying to do the right thing for the player, but if the player is thinking, well, I would be perfectly fine with playing if I'm actually going to play, they don't want to redshirt him, or they don't want to have him burn a year if he's going to get, what Evan Pryor got at the end of the game, 3 carries, 2 yards.
Yeah.
If he's going to get 11 carries a game, that's not wasting a year.
No, that's that's leading the team in rushing, basically. And I understand wanting to protect him, and I wrote about this I think yesterday. If you have a running back that is a 5-year running back at Ohio State, a 5th-year senior, that means he's not been good enough to go to the NFL. And do you want to be relying on that guy who is a good college running back, but you should be trying to recruit over that guy every single year and trying to take his carries and give them to somebody else, because there's a level of expectation with this Ohio State running game, this Ohio State offense. And I don't think a 5th-year senior is the kind of guy that it could happen. I mean, what Blake Corum, is he a 5th-year guy now, or is he just but like he could have left and he came back. And you have those guys that the 5th-year seniors are more of the offensive line, defensive line,
the developmental position.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't, in like 2 or 3 years, you haven't gotten somebody better than that guy. And I'm not saying somebody better than Dallan Hayden. I'm saying somebody better than a 5th-year senior at running back.
5th-year senior. Yeah, right. And that's I mean, Ohio State, first of all, the level of play that you need is generally at the NFL level. If you want to win a national championship, you need NFL players all over the field. Go back to Ohio State's last couple national championship teams and look at how many NFL guys they had. I think like 20 or 21 of the starters on the 2002 team got drafted in the NFL, probably close to that for 2014. I mean, that you need those guys. The JT Barrett type guys are great. Well, a lot of football games at Ohio State, but there was always kind of a ceiling there. And it took him going down to have the Cardale Jones who
that also being said, at the rate they're playing right now, I don't think Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams have played well enough to leave early. And they both have time.
No.
They both still have time. And so if everybody were to come back, which seems insane to say, and you're also adding 3 freshman running backs into the mix.
Yeah, well, you're going to run into an 85 problem there too, just in the running back room. Mike Freno says we have a 6-year senior at starting safety right now, Josh Proctor, of course, and he has been. He came in with the recruiting pedigree that led you to believe that he was an NFL player, and there was sort of the immediate impression of an NFL player. I mean, we've talked about Greg Schiano talking about how impactful he was in making plays and all that kind of stuff. He's had a lot of injuries, and it's not that he's physically limited. It's just he was hurt, and then last year he wasn't ready for what they wanted him to do. This year he has been much, much better. He's been doing all the stuff they want him to do.
Yeah, consistency, maturity. Sometimes it takes 6 years, but if you go back to the spring or the fall, if we tell you that, I don't know that there are many people saying this defense is going to live or die by Josh Proctor's play of safety. Not that it is, but it is being uplifted by his play. And I don't know that anybody I don't know that many would have said that Ohio State's going to be dependent on Josh Proctor at free safety, because there's some concern, like if he's the guy back there, that's not great.
Yeah, well, it felt like he was not someone who I certainly expected coming into the spring that he was going to just, and now he seizes the job, and he has very much seized the job. Yep. And it just, it felt like you were just sort of waiting for it to happen. And then at some point you kind of go, well, maybe it's just not going to happen. Yeah. And then now it has happened.
Yeah, they'll throw him out there to start the season, and then eventually he just goes away, and he has not gone away.
Murphy Serafino says, this seems like a James Franklin team that might not, quote unquote, James Franklin this year. I mean, Penn State's a very good team. I mean, there are 3 teams in the Big Ten East that are minimally top 10 teams, and probably more like top 6 to 8 teams. Penn State is one of them. Ohio State is one of them. And this is a Penn State team that has, after years of not having the NFL quarterback, after years of having their own version of JT Barrett, now has a guy who might be. He's young. Drew Eller is young. But now you maybe have broken through that glass ceiling, and they've got talent on the line that's better. They have a couple of real talented running backs. They've got a very talented defense. Yeah, this is a Penn State team that is going to be a real challenge for Ohio State next week.
Yeah, I'll be watching more of them. It's not a great watch because it's not a great offense at this point. The running game, the passing game, it's everything gets clouded over by the great defense that we're seeing. But I think it's going to be a rock fight between these two teams next week.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what kind of game do you think this is going to be? Is this going to be the like the Terrell Pryor freshman year 2008 game that ended up, I think, 13-6, or is this going to be a shootout like a 2017 game that ends up 37 or 38-37 or whatever that was?
26-17, something like that.
Yeah.
23-17. Just
26-17 is a lot of field goals. It is a lot of field goals.
Well, speaking of field goals, Tom, I don't know if they showed it on TV, but there's a contest during this game where a Purdue student came in and made like 3 of 4 field goals, like from 30 and 40 yards. It was
20, 30, and 40 yards. And I think there was, unless I'm like having a stroke, there was a separate thing in the first half where a different kid hit a field goal.
And one of them, the long one, hit the crossbar and bounced over.
The 40-yarder, I think he got a lease on a car or something, and they said he was the first kid to ever do it.
Now, they say there's no cheering in the press box, Tom. I can tell you there was cheering in the press box on that one.
That was incredible to not only hit the 40-yarder, but have it doink it off the crossbar and over. But then right around then, I believe I saw that Purdue right before or after. That was right before halftime. And then the random kid pulled out of the stands, hits a 40-yarder, and then Purdue's kicker misses a 39-yarder. And then, Tony, you run him back out there in the third quarter for a tough angle kick in the rain after he's missed 2 when you're down by 27 points, and it does you absolutely no good other than, well, maybe we won't get humiliated and shut out, but you're completely waving the white flag. Like, Tony, life is full of choices, and that was a choice.
Well, theoretically, it gets them to a 3-score game because, if they score 3 touchdowns, they're going to hit all 3 of those 2-point conversions. But was that the field goal attempt that blasted off the upright, and then the thing was just shaking for the next 10 minutes?
I think that was the last one before the half. Yeah, I think that was right before the half. But
that was blasted.
That was. Oh boy!
Well, Kevin wrote in the tail of the tape that Purdue's kicking game was not very good.
Well, score 1 for Kevin,
and he was right because he looked at the statistics and did the math.
Yeah, that was like the Joe Milton. What if Joe Milton was a field goal kicker?
Yes.
Is it accurate? No. Is it going very fast? Yes. Yeah, and Ohio State was not spectacular. I mean, like they get on special teams, they got overshadowed a little bit. But I mean, missing a PAT is one of those. Was that a bad snap or a bad hold? Or
we didn't really get any replays because we were just being piped in.
Everything was on Peacock.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did not see too many replays today.
Okay. Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Not many great angles, but
if we want to, let's be a little positive about the special teams. Jesse Mirko, my heavens, that was quite a punt.
Yeah.
Just it was, a real soft green and just hit the sand wedge and just dropped it right at the 2, and it just like took a little divot and just stopped.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I could see it at its peak. I'm like, well, this is going to be a good one because he puts the backspin on it, and the only key was like, here comes the sliding player to carry it into the end zone. Like trying to down it, and you just you duff it, and yeah, that was a good one for sure. And they got out of the end zone pretty quickly, but I'll take my chances with a 99-yard drive.
Yeah. Super chat from Mike Farino. Is the 2002 wide receiver class just doomed at this point? Feel bad for the guys that stuck it out to compete this year, but seems like they should transfer. I mean, you've already lost Caleb Burton, Caleb Brown. Keon Grays has been hurt all year. Kojo Antwi we haven't really seen. I mean, the 2023 class is already, it feels like just, I mean,
look what they did today.
Carnell Tate is playing like meaningful minutes already. You saw Brandon Inniss with a big catch. But, I mean, you looked out there, and I think all 4 of the true freshmen played. I saw Bryson Rogers did. I saw Bryson Rogers. I saw Noah Rogers out there. So all 4 of the true freshmen played. I don't think I saw Kojo Antwi out there. I don't know.
I don't know if he even traveled.
Yeah, I don't know if he traveled. And Keon Graves has been hurt all year. So yeah, I mean, it does feel like, maybe it's partly injury, but it does feel like those 23s are already kind of on the normal Brian Hartline wide receiver class trajectory.
And then the 24s are even, just another group of 2 5-stars, and Jeremiah McClellan is a dynamic player, and they could be adding a fourth there as well to just add to the room.
Yep. Do we want to go through some questions? Do we want to do some?
Frank wants to ask about if there's rain. I said,
Okay. Yes.
It was fine in the press box.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Let's go on.
I'll answer since I'm qualified to answer this question. I'll get to that in a minute. But let us know, dear friend in South Florida, if we have sounds that we can run through as well. But yes, it was raining. The forecast on Friday was, kind of 40% chance of showers throughout the game. And so maybe not. And then you get to the, this morning, and everything said no rain. The radar said no rain. Everything, no rain. Great. Perfect. I brought the rain gear anyway. And then it just was like a fine mist for, like, it wasn't pouring, but it was just kind of very soft, not big drops or anything, but it was wet and it was windy. It was blowing from right to left on the TV. So you just had rain kind of blowing in your face. So you either had the train horn right next to your ears or rain blowing in your face. So it was a lovely day to be outside.
Well, up in the press box, it was comfortable. There's plenty of room. The chairs have wheels, which is always great. We had chili dogs because, Tom, do you know why? And my theory on why we were served chili dogs?
Something about the Tasty Freeze?
No, because we're in the state of Indiana. And who is the state of Indiana famous for? John Mellencamp.
John Mellencamp, yes.
Even though this is not Indiana.
Yes. Sucking down chili dogs down at the Tasty Freeze. Yes. So we have Devin Brown sound that sense. Yes. Yeah. So we're going to, yes. But we do have, let's go to a little bit of Ryan Walters. Just a couple questions here. I got a chance to listen to some of his thoughts, and you're going to hear the question on both of these. But the first one is sort of about the challenges of facing Ohio State and how they dealt with that.
Last thing, Marvin Harrison, I know he's a special talent, but that first drive, you missed the field goal. I think it's maximized because he makes 3 big catches and they're in the end zone. You basically 5 or 6 plays later. Just the slow starts, how do you get off to a better start to maybe get that early momentum and stay in games like this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they made plays, you know what I'm saying? And we had things to overlap and have eyes on him. But then somebody else will make a play, you know what I mean? I thought we were able to get to the quarterback a little bit. And try to get him to get rid of the ball, and then we just had bad technique down the field when the ball was floating in the air. Those 2 penalties also killed us, right? And so we got a ways to go as a program, as a team, to be able to compete with a team like Ohio State. They're number 3 in the country for a reason, and they are sitting where we want to go as a program. And so we got work to do.
At 2-5, obviously not where you want to be. Just what are the steps to maybe dig yourself out of this hole that you're in?
Yeah, like I said, we put your head down, you go to work. This bye week is coming at the right time. Then we'll have a 5-game stretch where I feel like we can go compete and get some wins, and we desperately need them. And so. I will say, looking at everybody in the locker room, everybody obviously is disappointed in where we are right now, but I don't think anybody is defeated. And we got a tight-knit group, especially those seniors, that we want to try to get to postseason play. And so that will be our driving motivation and our focus to get better and, give them the opportunity to play in the postseason.
So that was Brian Walters, Purdue head coach. He just, this is year 1. He feels like someone who has the background, schematic background, and, is young, energetic. He seems like the kind of guy who's probably going to be able to bring talent. This is not going to be recruiting as a top 5 program kind of talent, but he's going to be able to bring in developmental talent and, get the defense better, get the defense stronger. You bring in some transfers, sometimes it's going to help, it's going to hit, sometimes it's not, whatever. But he feels like someone where, they're 2-4 now. They've got to win 4 of their last 5 to get to a bowl game. This feels to me like maybe this is, this time next year, they're a 7-win team kind of thing. We'll see how the scary new world of the new Big Ten works out for them. They're no longer going to be in the Big Ten West, so the road might get a little harder. But this feels to me like he might be a long-term answer here.
Well, I think you have resources. You have the transfer portal. You are a younger coach, which always that can help.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have the ingredients to make this what Jeff Brown made it.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have they want to do the same kind of offense that is exciting for offensive players. The defense they've run is exciting for defensive players. Their single high defense that they run with their freshman safety like 25 yards back, and then he comes like running up once he is wants to do what he's going to do. But yeah, I don't think this isn't one of those things where you look at it and you're like, oh, he's in over his head, like Ron Zucker, Tim Brewster, where it's like they are only recruiters.
Yeah.
I think there's more to Ryan Walters than that.
Yeah, and he, you go back over Purdue coaches in the past, and they brought it, like, remember Danny Hope when Danny Hope was here, and it was kind of like he was like, I think from Eastern Kentucky, and it was like based on what? Like what was this decision based on? Walters is someone who winning coordinator at Big Ten level, young, energetic. You can see it there. Super chat from Mike Smith. Make sure to like the stream and subscribe to Buckeye Huddle for a week full of great content. Respectfully agree. I think that's 2 good points there.
And it is a big week. It is not. We don't call it Penn State week. It is the week that Ohio State plays Penn State.
Yeah.
Is that better? Is that more acceptable?
Yeah, we're not going to do. I can't say that we're not going to. We don't have a pre-prepped show planned for like great Ohio State Penn State memories. Like there's a week when we'll do all that kind of stuff. But we're not. Maybe we will. There's a lot of morning shows between now and next Saturday, as it turns out.
It's like 15.
Like I started saying it, I'm like, well, we're not going to do that. I'm like, well. Maybe.
We'll see how things go.
Murphy Serafino, Carnell Tate needs to play more. Also, not looking ahead, but the Wisconsin game scares me. I mean, Carnell.
I'm not looking ahead. You're looking ahead.
Well, also, the Ohio State football regular season is now halfway over. We were just at Indiana 9 days ago. How is this happening? How does this happen every year? So let's not wish away the games, especially one of the games that is going to be a potentially signature game in college football next weekend, where if Ohio State wins, they're probably first in line in terms of, even if you lose, to Michigan hypothetically late, you're probably, if you're 11-1, getting in the college football playoffs if there's a non-conference champion who does.
You're going to find out about your margin of error next week.
Yeah. And if they lose, then you have to beat Michigan, and Ohio State fans will be happy to tell you that already before they even know the result of the Penn State game.
We did not need to know about the Penn State game to know that.
Avi says, would be fun, Buckeye Huddle trivia, to know which Ohio State wide receivers started their career with a first reception touchdown pass. Any recents? Well, Michael Wiley is the free space on the bingo card.
Yeah, I don't know if David Boston did too.
They went nuts in that hit game.
Yeah.
1990.
Rice. Yeah.
I think Boston or Wiley, or the two of them, scored on their first 3 touches. Mm-hmm. Now, it may have been Wiley, but like one of those was a reverse, an end around. Mm-hmm. I think 2 of those were catches.
Cam Babb last year?
Cam Babb, yeah. Maybe, I don't know if this is true, like Torian Washington.
Spiritually, that feels true.
The only catch I remember is a 37-yarder. Eric Moss or Tommy Hoying. Tommy Hoying to Eric Moss.
Yeah.
Before Tommy Hoying moved to tight end, but
two guys who also had brothers that played football.
But yeah, as I tweeted, Brandon Inniss is now averaging 58 yards per catch during his Ohio State.
The ball more.
Well, he looked so in his element. Mm-hmm. Like he was back at St. Thomas Aquinas again, or
South
right?
Florida Express. Just say South Florida
Just
Express.
yeah.
Right.
But like the catch and then like the slowdown, he hit the brakes, kind of like in Top Gun. The
you
movie.
know what? I was just thinking. I hope someone brings up Top Gun on the podcast.
Yes, hit the brakes on the
fly
crate on
right
the
by
plane. Or Bugs Bunny hitting the air brakes right before the plane noses down. Yeah, and then you just. I was wondering, is he going to be able to get through there? And he was fast enough. People have said he doesn't have the great speed, but he looked fast enough there.
American Heritage, by the way.
That's
Brandon
big
Inniss.
Yes.
I knew that myself. That did not just pop up on the screen in front of me.
That's why I knew it didn't sound correct.
All me. Brandon Boyd said Carnell Tate's first play. Announcer said Martell. Tate Martell.
Yeah, they did.
Martell Tate.
Yes, Martell Tate.
You're
or
allowed
something like that.
You're allowed to prepare for shows. Did you know that? I mean,
I heard this Peacock crew was awful. Like they're getting there's Eichenberg's name was messed up.
Well, he hasn't played much, so.
And the in-house PA was Eichenberry.
Oops, all Eichenberries.
Hey, that's what Jim Knowles wanted last year. He said, "I want 11 Tommy Eichenberries."
There you go. Exactly.
You know
That's
what's
exactly what he said.
We're good now. That's going to become something like it. I'm going to have to like think: is it Eichenberry? Because I just got over a couple years ago. It's not Eichenberger. Now it's like now we're throwing a third name into this. And now we've Josh Fryer.
Yeah, it's
too many names.
Not great. Yes, and the American Heritage is the Patriots.
Yes, correct.
Yes,
same as my high school.
All right. Jordan Kapler says I nominate Forward with McCord in place of Brotherly Shove. Forward with McCord. What was that? We said Forward with McCord.
No, I said all aboard McCord.
Oh, all aboard with McCord. Yeah.
No, not with. All aboard McCord.
Okay. Forward with Brotherly Shove.
You know, all due respect to
Brotherly Shove is pretty good. He's from right outside.
But isn't that what they call the Philly? Is that?
I don't know.
With Jalen Hurts?
You're asking me a question about the NFL. The answer is I don't know.
If they don't, yes, Ryan. Yeah, that's a very good one. I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, Brad Smith says the announcers definitely didn't prepare. So, think about how all the people who didn't buy the game and how good they're feeling right now.
It's Ohio State. It's a top 3 team in the country. You are. This is one of the biggest games you've called.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you're doing something, one of the biggest times you're doing it. This is one of your big moments in your career. How do you? Like, you should be over prepared. You should be like, I know Tommy Eichenberg's middle name. I know his mother's middle name. I know when he lost his first tooth. Like, you should know everything.
Sounds like you're trying to steal his identity.
I know his social security number. I know his PIN code.
Mike Smith says the Peacock experience was not good at all. Names were all butchered. Seemed like they were missing cameras. Replays came late. Just a mess. And, that can be when it's not. I think Ohio State fans are used to the big noon kickoff or the prime time, NBC crew. You do not get the, spider cam for the noon Peacock game. You don't get the, there are fewer cameras there. You don't have, the truck going up and down the sidelines. You get, and I don't know that they have room for the truck here, but there's a bunch of cameras that are not here when you have a smaller, a smaller level game. And so, when Ohio State's playing at Rutgers, you're not going to have the same number of camera angles. The crew is not going to be the top crew. That's just, the realities of playing a lower profile game. I have a strong sense that next week is going to be back up to the normal standards that Ohio State fans have come to expect in terms of broadcast camera quantity, broadcast quality.
Well,
all of
good
that.
news, Gus Johnson never gets any names wrong.
Murphy Serafino says McCord forward. It's easy.
McCord forward.
McCord forward.
How about McCord?
We're going to workshop that.
How about the Kyle pile?
Can you believe I get to work with this guy, the Kyle Pile?
Boom, done. The Kyle Pile. Mm-hmm. Super chat that.
You want to get on your phone and send in a super chat to your own show? That sounds great. We should. I don't know if we have our Devin Brown sound yet, but the Devin Brown. thing.
That was a
package
surprise.
Was yeah, okay, it is loaded. So let's you
Yeah,
guys have talked to him a little bit.
yeah, and got to talk to him for a little bit, but I think he's talking about just when they put it in, just being ready for it, and the things that go into it, and just being involved. And clearly, he was a happy guy afterwards. And did not get there in time to talk about the fumble, and I didn't want to be the third guy to ask. Sorry, I got here late, but obviously, he talked about just the week of preparation and getting ready for this.
I think showed that last year and again this year just how deep they are. And Dallan stepped up and I think did a really, really good job. And obviously, it stinks that Chip got pretty banged up there, but kind of next man up mentality, and Dallan's ready for it.
Is this team ready for next week's challenge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. So that was Kyle McCord.
That was
not
my
Devin
bad.
Brown.
That was my bad. No, that's
all right.
It is all right because it's my mistake. That's why it's all right.
I forgive you.
I forwarded the wrong file. But Devin Brown said all the things that I mentioned. But obviously, he would love to continue doing this, and it's a great way for him to be involved. Kyle McCord also happy with it, liked it. And you saw, did you get a good look at the celebration with Kyle and Devin after Devin scored his touchdown?
I did not.
Just, Kyle comes running off the sideline, and they jump into the air, and two guys very happy with the first career touchdown for Devin Brown.
Well, I think this is a year where Ohio State does not necessarily have the clean, easy solution to some of their problems. They have had short yardage issues, they have had goal line issues, and it has felt, we are not the only geniuses who figured out, like, sometimes teams quarterback sneak in this kind of situation. Like, I'm sure that has occurred to Ryan Day. He knows some stuff about football, so I'm sure that has occurred to him. And I'm sure there's a reason they have not really done that much. But this feels like a situation where, plan A, the automatic answer, plan A, does not necessarily work for you. So, okay, so now you're looking at plan B and figuring out what is a plan B. And, Devin Brown as the running complement to Kyle McCord, where he's not a terrible thrower either. So you're going to perhaps have a pop pass or something like that. Tony, could we have a jump pass? Can we have a Devin Brown jump pass this year?
Well, you might have it next week, but again, if we're going to ask you to throw it, you better make it a better throw than the one on the goal line there. And again, it's something that Penn State will have to prepare for. I still don't see the great distance between Devin Brown as a runner and Kyle McCord as a runner, but Ryan Day does like Devin's strength, size, physicality in that, and the ability to just get forward. And if he is one of those guys that can get that yard, like JT Barrett was great at finding that yard, if that's Devin Brown, the downside is obviously the telegraphing of what you're doing. So you have to do things off of that. Yeah. And that'll be the key moving forward. I will see yes or no. Do we see it next week?
Yes, I think we see it next week. I think we definitely will see it next week. You're probably not going to see exactly the same thing, and maybe you just see it for one play and they try it once and you move on. I don't know that you need to see that on the 8-yard line. I think you see that on the 2-yard line. Pick your spot. Do it in a situation where you're a little closer, and you don't need to make two guys miss. You just get her on the edge or whatever it is. Right. And I do want to address, there was a super chat earlier about Carnell Tate, and we got sort of went off on a little tangent on Brandon Inniss, I think, and wanted to talk a little bit more about Carnell Tate. 3 catches, 79 yards, long of 55. He is someone who, when this was when these guys were all still in high school, you sort of heard, he's not the highest ranked of the guys in this class, but he's going to be the first guy who's on, who's like an impact guy. And then he was the first guy to lose his black stripe. And then he was the first guy to sort of get into the rotation. And he's in, they have the six man sort of circle of trust. And he's the first of those freshmen to be in the circle of trust. And he is someone who I think you're going to see, you go back to previous guys who played as freshmen. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, you'd see them against maybe, Garrett Wilson, I think, scored against Miami or something like that, he scored in some of those like non-conference games where it's 1,000,000 to nothing and it doesn't necessarily mean that much. but you get to late October, early November. That's when Chris Olave started to emerge. That's when you start to see the freshmen who maybe aren't really freshmen anymore, especially if they've been in for the spring. It sort of feels like that's maybe where you're starting to get with Carnell Tate, where, if I say over under in, the Penn State or Michigan game, and maybe we just say the Michigan game because it's a little further out. Carnell Tate has 2.5 catches and 40.5 yards receiving against Michigan. I'm probably taking the over on both of those just because it feels like the development is there, the improvement is there, that's going to be maybe where he is at that point.
I think with Carnell Tate now, you should not be surprised by anything that happens because he is capable of 7 catches for 140 yards, something like that, if he is targeted enough. And that's, he has shown like he was in the slot plenty today. He was outside. The Kyle McCord made a really nice throw down the seam to him on a 55-yarder. So, yeah, I think he can do everything that the coaches have told us he can do, and that Kyle McCord and the quarterbacks have told us that he can do. I don't think any of that is coach speak. That all seems legit because every time we see him out there, he had a catch where he made a guy miss, like a tough catch in traffic and on a difficult throw, and he's strong hands. He's got some after the catch ability like Marvin Harrison, where he's a bigger guy and he can make guys.
That's what you want to do. You want to throw Marvin Harrison comps on these guys.
Yeah, he's a little bit of Marvin Harrison, a little bit of Michael Thomas, and just a smidge of David Boston and some Chris Carter tossed in. But he's you shouldn't be surprised by anything he does. And I'm with you. Like he should be taking in more snaps. But I still expect when Emeka Egbuka is healthy that it's going to be Emeka and Marvin and Julian Fleming and mixing in. They ran quite a bit of 12 today until I think they started getting comfortable with Carnell Tate out there more.
Yeah.
And I think not just his confidence has grown, but the confidence that the coaches have in him has grown, even though they tell us, oh yeah, no, we have total confidence. Like you don't, I don't believe you until you start showing us by putting him out there.
Yeah. We do have a super chat here from Mike Farino, who is asking about the Oregon-Washington game, which we have seen 0.0 seconds of. 22-18 UW is the he says Oregon is foolish. Take the points there. Just went for it on 4th down with 6 seconds left, down 4 in the half. I guess the question to me is, going for it on 4th down with 6 seconds left, is it 4th and goal from the 1 or is it 4th and goal from the 4? Because those are kind of different answers to me. If you're at the the 4, the 5, whatever, you kick it.
At the Washington 3.
The Washington 3. Yeah, that's kind of right in the middle there. I get it. You want to be aggressive. You're giving, you've given up 22 points in the first half. Is a field goal really going to make that? I mean, this is not a game you win with field goals probably.
Well,
but
yeah, and also I'll tell you, I believe Oregon gets the ball to start the second half as well.
Okay.
So I think that's also probably a factor in there.
Mike Smith, speaking of high flying, exciting games, Iowa Wisconsin is 7-0 at the half. Real fireworks show.
How do you get 7 points?
That is the Iowa did. Iowa did?
Hey, they had like a 70-yarder against Purdue.
Iowa had an 82-yard run, Kevin says.
Yeah, and now they have 64 yards of total offense.
Obviously lying to us. Yeah, but that's a de facto Big Ten West championship game, basically. Like if Wisconsin wins, it's basically over. If Iowa wins, they're then the favorites. There are some flawed teams in the Big Ten West for the first time in conference history.
Yeah, this is new age.
Yes.
Is there another super chat? Or are we good?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I can start finding some questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do some questions. Okay, Treasure the Torah, good buddy, Treasure the Torah. Hello.
Treasure.
Today was at least 50 steps in the right direction. Facts.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good to like. And as I said earlier, it wasn't perfect, but it's still a blowout win on the road in the Big Ten, and you'll always take that. And yet, when guys have made mistakes, other guys have stepped up, and you're seeing Cody Simon step up for Steel Chambers. Where they're still splitting reps. I wonder how much longer that will continue if they start finding more that they like with Cody Simon, and that improves the running game. Not that Cody Simon was perfect. He wasn't, but the safeties have done their job in being the safety, as things are breaking down with the running game. But overall, the corners played well. The defensive line got after it. This was the third time ever that Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau had a sack in the same game.
Interesting.
The previous 2 times were both against Maryland last year and the year before.
And I think it's worth noting that Purdue's offensive line is very banged up. I think they were missing the right tackle, and then the right guard went down with what looked like a not very good leg injury in the first half. So they were really playing. They were very, very shorthanded on the offensive line. And I think, I'm not trying to be Bobby bad vibes here, but this is context that you need so that you're not going in next week against Purdue or against Penn State going, everything is fixed and they're going to be dominant and it's going to look just like that again. And maybe, but you got to, there's some useful context we got to talk about here.
And it would be good to know what Denzel Burke's status is, because that's a significant injury. And not that Penn State's passing game has been outstanding, but they have the potential to be good. And so you want to obviously be at full strength. It's good that they have Jordan Hancock and Davis Nigbenosin. And, Sonny Styles played a bunch there as a nickel. Now Jermaine Matthews got in, and we did not see anything from Cam Martinez did not play. I wonder what eventually the situation is at nickel if Denzel Burke is out, because they'll keep Jordan Hancock and Davis Nigbenosin as the outside corners, but then on passing downs, does it go to Matthews and then Hancock goes into the slot? So there's some moving parts there.
I think that might be it, because we saw a bunch of Jermaine Matthews. He was also really good on special teams. He had like 2 different tackles on kick.
Tracking dudes down.
Kicks coverage. Mike Farino says Drew Rollers at 6 yards per attempt versus UMass, less than 10 yards per completion. Burke or no Burke, I'm not scared of him.
He's a check down guy. And from what I've heard, because I haven't watched Penn State since the first half of West Virginia.
Because
game,
why would you? They have somehow played the Michigan schedule without getting the Michigan level of crap for playing it. So, and Mozart's Go says, Penn State plays their best against Ohio State. And that is true. I mean,
until it comes down to James Franklin.
How often does Ohio State blow Penn State out? Almost never. I mean, last year it looked like a blowout, but they were down with 8 minutes left in the game or something like that. Just so often that game is a really, really close competitive game all the way through. I would certainly not expect anything less next week.
No, I think you're going to see a bunch of conservative score picks on the staff picks next week.
Okay.
Oh, Kevin says no. He said 42-7.
Wow. Which team? Who wins?
He got nobody. Oh, Kevin's looking to rile up some Penn State fans because he had so much fun at Notre Dame.
Duke says Hayden definitely has the best vision of any of the backs.
I'm not going to argue with that. The results are, this is a 1-game sample size. And, when the scheme that you run best is presented to you, like that package is what you do best perhaps. And you're put on the best stage to perform well, I think. But you also have to be able to hit the high notes time. You got to be able to sing the songs, and he did that. And I can't, generally I try to there's just an immediate recoil or brush off of, like, when there's the immediate reaction from people like, I told you this guy was the best. We've been saying it all along. And with this, it's 1 game, but and I'm not going to say he's the best running back, but I'm going to say he was productive. And like I said earlier, I wouldn't be shocked if this is the most efficient game by a Ohio State running back this year.
Well, and it just feels like he's, it's 1 game.
Yep.
Just like it was 1 game against Maryland last year. But I think you want to see more. I think you're not ready to proclaim him the number 1 back, but I think he certainly has earned more reps. I think Ohio State owes it to themselves to give him more reps.
Right.
Let's see if this is for real. If it's for real, great. You've solved your problem. If it's not, that's okay. And sometimes you got to figure out which options aren't, the right ones, to figure out which options are the right ones. There's a picture of Dallan Hayden there on the screen for you. One of his runs during the first half. Yeah. He was very consistent, very impressive. It was just, they don't need a running back to pop off 80 yards all the time. They need a guy who can get them 6 yards, keep them on schedules, keep them ahead of the sticks, and keep them in a spot where they can do both. Throw and pass, throw and run, just based on down and distance. We have our Devin Brown sound ready to go now. So go ahead, Tony, take 2.
Yeah, this is Devin Brown, just talking about the week of preparation and how much they put into it when his package went into practice. And so he'll talk about it here.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw it was cover 0, I knew I had Brandon right there and just made a good play.
What does that do for you, and what does that do for him, do you think?
I think it just builds confidence. I think, especially him being a younger guy, he knows, he can go out there and do it against high-level teams, and he just got to keep building every week.
By the way, you ever hand the ball off? Is that part of the scheme, too? Do you ever hand off? Is that everything?
Yeah, it definitely is. When I have the right read, yeah.
Devin, when did you know that this package might be in for this particular week?
This week. I mean, early in the week, we knew it was going to go.
How long have you guys been thinking about this, working on it, getting reps for a situation like this?
I mean, every week we kind of rep it, knowing that I could be a possibility in the run game, so it's just kind of week to week. I probably won't be able to say much. They're probably just going to give me a hug and just be happy for me. That's all.
Last 2 questions over here.
Did y'all beef up a little bit with the running game today? What's your take on it?
Definitely. I mean, our biggest thing on away games is we got to run the football and stop the run. So we went out there and did that today. We finally, put a great game together, and it felt good. When you have a lot of rushing yards, it opens up the pass game.
Good to see Dallan answer the bell like he did. What's it? Y'all down 3 running backs.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the deepest rooms we have, in the country. It's all 5 of those guys can go out there and make plays. And so no matter who's out there, they're going to be a good player.
Last question.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's good. It's good to get this momentum going and this confidence going in the scheme. We know we got a big one ahead of us, and we just got to keep rolling.
All right, Devin, thank you.
I think one of the things I like best about what they did with Devin Brown is Ryan Day went back to him after the fumble. Mm-hmm. Next time they're down there, just send him right back out there, and I think that's a good move. Obviously, you got to take care of the ball, but also it's not the end of the world for you. It's not the end of your world, basically.
Yeah, and there's a look. If you were watching, you can see there's Devin Brown. This was the one that he scored a touchdown on.
He did make a good move on the fumble as well. He made a good miss.
Yeah, had a nice cut there. You can see why they look at. There's the fumble right there. That was, it was right in front of me, and it was. I kind of wondered live, maybe he was across the line, very obviously. Once you saw it, it was like, oh no, he was definitely not across the line. That's him cutting up, I think, for the touchdown there. But yeah, he had it. That feels like they might be onto something there, and I don't know how much they're going to do it, but that's the touchdown run. It feels like they might be onto something there with the Devin Brown package, because it is a problem that they have had, and now this is a solution that you can implement in the middle of the season. And it's probably good for Devin Brown mentally to be staying in these games, and you're probably even more ready for hey, if something happens to Kyle McCord, you are locked in because you are an active part of the game plan.
I liked how much they played him outside of that as well. Mm-hmm. Ryan Day was getting guys, when the position coaches were getting guys out there when the game was effectively over, but we've seen starters stay in for longer than they did in this one.
I thought that Kyle McCord was in one drive too long, and Marvin Harrison was out there and it was like, it's rainy, it's a wet field, you got Penn State next weekend, and it's 34-7.
It's only 34-7.
There's nothing good that's going to happen here,
especially after losing Denzel Burke.
Yeah,
but
there's Marvin. He had an up and down day for, as you said earlier, grading on the Marvin Harrison scale, but he made the plays you've come to expect from Marvin Harrison. Kyle McCord, 16-28, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. They spread the ball around a little bit, but when you look at the numbers there, 3 targets for Carnell Tate, 3 catches for 79 yards. That's impressive. 4 targets for Tate Stover, 4 catches, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns. Only 3 targets, 1 catch for Julian Fleming. But
he drew 2 pass interference penalties, and he was getting severely hugged on both of those. Kevin made a great point where on one of them the receivers the defender wasn't allowing him to lift his arms over his head, and it said he couldn't do that last year because of his injury. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he's used to not being able to get his arms over his head, something like that. And you can see like that for him, that's as good as a catch. Like you're moving the chains.
Yeah.
I think that there's some, it's something to be proud of when you're being interfered with that badly because you just beat somebody and now they're holding on for dear life.
And we just had the Tate Stover touchdown picture up there a second ago. That one was coming directly at me. And like the ball was coming literally directly at my face. And when I saw him getting ready to throw it, I thought, I don't think this is a great idea. And there were black jerseys, a couple black jerseys. That was a tight window. That was a little bit of a no, yes kind of throw for Kyle McCord. That was a tight window, and I think Tate Stover had to kind of go back and a little bit of a back shoulder, but made a nice play there on that one.
Yeah, that was a dangerous one that good hands caught on a rainy day where you can't.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't expect Marvin Harrison to catch everything, but you can expect Tate Stover to catch everything.
Yeah. Well, and this is the hit on Chip Trainum that he ended up going out on, and you can kind of see. There's a Purdue helmet, I think, behind him. I believe that there's a guy. You can see kind of the guy's legs behind him, so he kind of got sandwiched there between the two defenders. So not ideal. We'll see what his status is for the Penn State game.
Kevin, are we through questions? Okay, so I guess I'll just wrap up then. I want to thank you all for tuning in. As always, please go ahead and find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Become a member. It's a great way to support the site and what we do. I want to thank Tom and Kevin and myself and everybody else here. It's been it's always fun going on the road, and it's good for the morale when they come away. Ohio State comes away with a victory, especially here where it is so rare to do so. So with that said, I want to thank you all for tuning in as always, and we'll talk to you guys later.